Ambassador David Friedman, thank you so much for granting us this interview.
My pleasure, Lital. Always good to be with you.
Let's maybe start talking about Gaza and the ambitious Trump plan to immigrate people out of Gaza, to rebuild the Gaza Strip. How do you see the outcome of what will happen after this war will be over?
Look, I think it has a real chance for a number of reasons. The first is that, Gaza is really uninhabitable, right? So it's not like there's much of a choice about the next 4 or 5 years. There's buildings that are teetering. There's unexploded ordnance. There's just a lot that has to be cleaned up. And I think most people are not going to want to live through that. And I think there are places they can go. So beyond that, look, the country has, or Gaza has, 20 miles roughly of magnificent western-facing beachfront. There aren't very many places on the Mediterranean where you can sit and watch the sunset. So I think President Trump, he's obviously a real estate expert. He sees enormous potential there. So do I. So do most people. Lots of people would love to invest if it can be cleaned up. I say cleaned up. I'm not talking about, moving out people. I'm talking about making the land inhabitable and obviously destroying Hamas.
Yet again, if you would allow the people to go out, I imagine most of them would want to live a better life outside of the Gaza Strip. But when you look at the countries around the world, they're not so fussed about getting immigrants, Palestinian immigrants.
Yeah, it's quite hypocritical the way 5 million Syrians were able to leave during the Syrian civil war, and a far smaller number of residents of Gaza, when they're given the opportunity to leave, it's called ethnic cleansing. When they're given the opportunity to leave in Syria, it's called, a rescue operation. Mm-hmm. So look, Israel has been fighting this double standard since its existence. But look, I don't think this gets resolved ideologically. I think it gets resolved practically. Where do people want to be? No one's going to force anyone to leave their homes, but I think the natural incentives exist for people to want to leave, and maybe they can get vouchers to come back. I mean, it's not like they have to leave permanently. But in order to make Gaza livable, you have to move out the civilians, because otherwise you'll never be able to get money to invest in the land and to build it back up.
And if you mentioned double standards, we've seen double standards with Israel's bombing in Doha, with the way that the world reacted, talking to the government in Qatar, paying their condolences. We didn't see a similar case when America bombed Pakistan.
When we killed Osama bin Laden.
Yep.
It is a long story. I don't think it's going to change. I think Israel just has to internalize that reality and move ahead. Israel has succeeded, magnificently over its 77-year existence in dealing with these issues. They'll continue to do so, because at the end of the day, the narrative is the narrative, but I think most people know the truth.
Yeah. I have to ask you about the sovereignty plan. You're one of the architects of the sovereignty plan. Last time, President Trump allowed Israel to declare sovereignty. Do you think Israel should do it now? Do you think Israel should take advantage of the momentum? And does the American government is willing to allow Israel to do so?
So, look, I don't want to speak for the American government, and certainly an appropriate reaction to what was done in France and England and Australia, Canada, traditional friends of Israel. Their recognition of a hypothetical Palestinian state does provoke that kind of a reaction. But what I would say is this, and this is really the thesis of my book. It's not a punishment to the Palestinians for Israel to assert its sovereignty over Judea and Samaria. It's not bad for them. It's good for them. Okay, the only entity in the region, the only sovereign in the region that has a track record of empowering an Arab minority is Israel. We see that with the Israeli citizens of Israel. I mean, they've ascended to the heights of business and commerce and medicine and law and other professions. So it's not a punishment. I don't think that we should ever perceive sovereignty as a reaction to bad behavior. I think it's the right thing for everybody, and I think it should be thought through. I mean, it can be done. Obviously, people are talking about some steps now. I don't know what it was. There are there are always some consensus issues like Bekat HaYarden and Malay Adumim and Gush Etzion. I mean, there's a lot more than that, or Ariel. I mean, there's a lot more than that, but do it thoughtfully, meaning be prepared to answer the questions about how this is all going to work. Who gets what? How do they travel? What benefits do they get? Who pays for what? When I worked on this in 2020, and that was a less ambitious plan, it was a lot of work. I mean, a lot of details. And so in order to really present this to the entire world as a good outcome for the region, an outcome that's going to bring peace, stability, human rights, prosperity to everyone within the region, which I believe it will over time, I think it needs to be, carefully planned.
Yeah, more written in your book, whoever is interested to read. Ambassador David Friedman, thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you, Leito. My pleasure. Always good to be with you.